Yay!
We're live.
We're live. Come on, do your line.
We are live. We are live. We are live.
Yes, yes. All right. So
this time,
Colleen, I have a really quick knock joke. First of all, hello everybody. Thank you so much for being here. For
Happy
those,
Friday, Junior.
Yes, happy Friday, Junior. I love that you've coined that, and I think people really love that too. But before we get in this, I have a really quick knock joke for you.
Oh dear. Okay.
And listen, you all, Colleen doesn't know, like, we don't know what each other plans to share. So she doesn't know this. So, all right, you ready, Colleen?
Okay.
Okay. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Can you believe?
Can I believe who?
I think it's what?
Oh, what? Can I believe what?
Can you believe over 90 people registered for today's episode?
I mean, that's amazing. I can't wait to see. Because the unfortunate thing is we can't see how many are actually with us at the time. So I can't wait to see how many actually join. But regardless, that's amazing.
I know. Because, I mean, schedules conflict, right? It's like people want to come in, but then something comes up. I get that. But, oh my gosh, thank you to every single one of you that registered. We love you.
No, we're so excited. We're having way too much fun. Like, it's illegal how much fun we're having with the show.
It is. I'm in cuffs.
All right. So since one of our key rules is staying true to our time, I am going to go ahead and remind everyone what the goal of the show is. And so basically we built a bridge was founded with the core interest of creating a funnel of conversation that many hesitate to engage in. My dear friend Christine is a transformation coach for women, and myself, Colleen, I am a culture consultant to small businesses in communication, culture, and life fulfillment to guide you towards a life with integrity and curiosity. Over to you.
Yes, we do. We do. All right. So I'm just going to keep going because we've got a lot to talk about today. Hey, Terry. Hey, Bruce. Thanks for being here.
Oh,
all right. So let's get into it. Thanks, Colleen, for that introduction. You're amazing. So we're on a bit of a roll stemming from episode 14 with Jessica D. Winder. Colleen and I have brought up many topics to discuss on the show, and Jessica skimmed the surface for us to continue a very important conversation. So today, we'd like to dedicate this episode to the ones who've been bullied, the ones who've been talked over or dismissed, the ones who've been told they're not attractive or too attractive, or if you've been told you don't have what it takes, you're not enough, or that you're simply wrong. Now, we also want to include the ones who have bullied or are bullying, the ones who never fail to interrupt and turn the conversation back to them, the ones who judge others for being different, and the know-it-alls who blame others for not measuring up. Because no matter the category you fall under, when you look within to find the strength and confidence to decide no more, the celebration applies to all of us. To choose not to be bullied or talked over, man, it's powerful. To choose to stop bullying others or make others feel insignificant, that too is powerful. So today we want to, and we invite you to honor all the ones who've already said, no more. And to those who are in waiting to say no more.
I love that. I love that sign off. Those who are waiting. That was really good.
Because you know what? We're all in waiting for something. And it's the cycle of life. But Colleen, before we jump into this long-awaited conversation, we have to start with our icebreaker. And the question everyone's dying to know today is, what is your favorite sport to watch on TV?
Okay, so here is my answer to this. So I have ants in my pants. Therefore, my response is this. Although I do truly enjoy sports, preferably football and baseball. Those are the two that I would prefer to watch on television. It is going to be a challenge to get me to sit down and watch any sport on TV for longer than 30 minutes, again, because of the ants in my pants. So I personally would rather be listening to it in the background through the eyes of a really good play-by-play announcer. So I'm going to give a shout out to Jim Donovan. If you're a Cleveland Browns fan, you know who I'm talking about. And dear Tom Hamilton, who, if you are a Cleveland Guardians fan, you know who I'm talking about. What about you? How would you?
I might shock everybody with this. So JD Collier said football, which I'm sure is a lot of People's Choice, and Terry said she's with you, Colleen.
Yeah.
So for me, oh my gosh, I love watching curling.
What?
I know you think I'm nuts. I don't care. I'm owning it because I love it. I love the screaming in the background. It's like, I don't know what they're saying. They're saying like swipe or not swipe. I mean, it is so exciting. There's so much strategy and planning that goes into it, and how they don't fall on the ice all the time. I mean, also just amazes me, but I love it. I love it. I love it.
Where do you watch curling on TV? Like what channel?
So of course the Olympics, I mean, the Winter Olympics, it's always on. And I think it was last summer somewhere, like all of a sudden I was scanning through channels and curling was on. I think I screamed. I was like, what? Curling? Are you kidding me? It's just, I love it. I love it. And I forget, one of my connections actually a couple months ago was going to do curling, like a curling tournament for the weekend. And I geeked out big time.
That's so funny. That's amazing. I'm so happy that I now know this about you.
Thank you. Thank you. You can take me to our curling tournament. I accept.
Okay. I'm very excited about that. My ants in the pants won't allow me to sit longer.
Okay. Well, you can go get us refreshments.
Okay. Really quick. We definitely have football. We definitely have basketball, and we have men's college lacrosse. Ooh, that has to be.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Lacrosse really is a fascinating sport.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go ahead then and dive in, right? So at the close of the pre-recorded episode that we did, so episode 15, you had framed up this very pointed question. What patterns or lesson in your life are you learning or not learning from? Because the reality is, if you're not looking inward to ask yourself questions, there won't be a lesson to grow with. And so, of course, we teed that up and we asked, those who join us, how would you comment back to that, or how would you reflect on that? And so I just want to call out a couple of individuals that did share with us. And if I say your last name incorrectly, I'm so sorry, because I know we've connected on LinkedIn, but we haven't actually had a coffee chat for me to clarify the correct pronunciation. But Amy Shones, I love what she wrote here. She said, often we do carry past experiences and they keep us stuck without realizing it. We had Tony Castaldi, who I also know is an Ohio fan, also Cleveland sports fan. He said, the aha moment typically does not magically happen. It comes when we are ready from honestly answering the difficult questions. Victoria Walling, who joined us today, thank you, Victoria, for your support. She said, sometimes the key to creating change lies within ourselves. And then Lauren Greif, she had commented and said, I often find most of us learn as we go. And when the pain is pressing, the moves ahead are more likely to happen. So as I share those, right, those were the reflective comments that came in. The question I want to ask you, Christine, that I know we want to talk about is, what did you unpack from yourself from the question that you teed up to us at the end of episode 15?
Yeah. So just to quickly respond to those comments that came in, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts to those people that you mentioned. And just a quick reminder to everybody that's listening today, the pre-recorded show that drops the Thursdays in between our live shows, there are invitations for you to add your thoughts and comments to that it's under 15-minute pre-recorded show that we bring to the live show. So we want to talk about what's on your mind. So please tune in on our YouTube channel to watch and listen to the pre-recorded shows so that we can address your thoughts during our live shows. But just a quick reminder on that, and thank you to those who commented. But back to your question, Colleen, honestly, for me, the timing of these questions and this topic, I feel like has been planned by a higher power, because I feel like the last few months have been preparing me for this. When you choose to make changes in your life, it's not a one and done type of thing. The choice may be a one and done, right? It's like, okay, I'm choosing, I want to make changes, but the rest is a process. And the process is interesting because the end goal may not be where you finish, but that's the beauty of change. In addition, you won't always know that you're in the middle of growth because you're too busy feeling all the emotions of that roller coaster. And that kind of goes in with a little bit of what Victoria said, and she nailed it with that the change lies within ourselves. And it's really impactful and intense for me to realize how many lessons I chose to not learn for so long. I mean, I'm talking like 3-4 decades, because listen, it really is a choice. It's a choice to say, oh, this is me. This is just how I am. And it's also a choice to say, man, oh, wow, that behavior doesn't feel good no matter which angle I view it from. And I don't want to feel that way anymore. I don't want to behave that way anymore. You know, we choose to blame others versus look internally at our own behavior. We choose to stay the victim within our own feelings, even though those feelings probably originated 20, 30, 40 years ago, right? So, I mean, listen, there isn't a single cell within my body, Colleen, that says, oh, this is an easy choice, or, you know, just open your eyes because that's all, you know, it's just make that choice, because that's not at all how it happens. You know, something within you or something within me, I had experienced enough repetitive pain that I just couldn't take it anymore. I had to decide how I wanted to live the rest of my life. And, you know, if I had to live it the way I had been from 4 decades, I mean, I'm going to be honest, I was not going to make it. Like that, that's a bold statement, but I wasn't going to make it. I wanted the glory of happiness, right? Like I wanted to smile and mean it. I wanted my laughter to be felt in my body all day long and not just for those fleeting moments. I wanted to experience every breath knowing I loved myself and believed in myself. You know, in early February, for those of you that have been following our episodes, when I learned my childhood friend had died by suicide years prior, something broke inside my heart. 1 week later, I was traveling to Atlanta to spend a weekend planning and bonding with you, Colleen. And in that month, I was also strategizing to scale my business. You know, to say February was overwhelming for me is a massive understatement. When we hosted episode 8 of We Built a Bridge and talked about our cold plunge experience, which was major, I said then that I was going through some sort of like a growth period and I didn't know what it was, but to stay tuned. Well, fast forward to today, May 2nd, and I've put the pieces together, and this is where it gets intense. So every single one of us are grieving every single day. We are grieving, and it's deeply coded within all of our decisions, behaviors, and our inner dialogue. We're grieving for the ones who have passed. We're grieving for the ones that we're not in contact anymore. The relationships that have failed, the choices we have made, the choices we didn't make. We're grieving the unknown and what we do know. We grieve for the person we always wanted to be, but haven't yet become. We grieve for who we used to be, or even still are, because honestly, that's the most painful of all. And as we discussed in episode 11, regret is grief. Mm-hmm. You know, the shoulds, the shouldn'ts, and the could haves are all forms of regret that translate to grief. You know, it's the grief we wholeheartedly deal with and resolve that invites us to actually learn. And it's also the grief that we shove under the rug that suffocates us and keeps us from learning. So in that, what I have really unpacked from everything is that I've learned how powerful grief is when it comes to how we learn. We're not recognizing grief for the immense hold it can have on our emotional development or the advancement of our emotional development. This in itself has awakened me more than nothing else, more than anything else. I'm completely blown away. I'm ecstatic and I'm curious to learn more. Honestly, I feel like a kid again at soccer camp, eagerly asking the coach, and coach, teach me. I want to be a better player. Like that's how I feel.
So I could not wait to, I remember you saying that. I remember when we were here, like, there's something is coming up, but you couldn't put your finger on it. And then as I'm sitting here reflecting, I'm thinking about all the conversations that we have had around grief and how do we change that conversation? How do we change that narrative around it? Because it really is a big part of the change.
Yep.
We're either losing something, we're losing something. There is no either. We are losing something as the change is happening. So I don't want to dismiss. Carlos had said, I agree. Sometimes we're not fully aware of when change begins.
No.
And I mean, this was my first time of trying to take notes as you were talking, and I was not doing it discreetly. Because there was so many good things. You talked about the feelings that come up, and you can ignore them or you don't ignore them. like recognizing, does this behavior feel good? Doesn't it feel good? And I think it's a lot of things that will somewhat play out in how I would respond to the question. But again, I love that that's where you landed in regards to the grief piece, because gosh, even this morning I was out on a run and I was working through a recent situation that just happened to me. And as I'm coming home, I'm thinking, oh, it's the grief piece. That's what's sitting in what feels icky right now. It's the grief piece.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. And it's a big eye opener. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
All right. So here's where
oh boy.
No,
buckle in, everybody. Dr. Colleen's about ready to rip it.
This is okay. So I really put a lot of thought into this, and we've had these conversations just in kind of one-offs that we've been having, but I think I was able to finally put all the threads together. So I have mentioned that my core values, they are things that I have really worked to write down and put on paper this year. And if you don't follow me on LinkedIn, or if we're not, connected regularly, I'm going to go ahead and just list them out briefly. So they are integrity, honoring boundaries, testing the norm, advocating for myself and for others, leading with empathy, reliability, and of course, laughter and fun. I mean, there's just, you got to have that.
No brainer.
Yeah. So again, I bring that up because over the last several months, what's been really interesting is that several of my core values have been tested. And years ago, although I feel like I'm pretty in tune with, I always knew that I liked to test the norm. I always knew that that I needed to advocate for myself or for others. I never really had things listed down to put my finger on like I do now, right? So over the last several months, now that I can put my finger on something, I've been tested. And I know that because now I realize that feeling of like something feels off, like, right? And the way that off happens for me, it surfaces in my anxiety. But then where it really starts to surface is in my dreams. It's literally like a bullhorn going off next to my ear saying like, listen, right? So the signs are there. Is it a billboard on the side of the road saying, hey, Colleen, like, no, but they're there. And now again, because I have these core values literally written on paper, I can point to them. But so the values that have been tested for me over the last several months have been the integrity piece. And the way that I want to share it, the way that I'm defining that, just so that we're all on the same page in regards to how we're tracking the conversation, I define that as the quality of being honest. In regards to the advocacy piece, this is my personal advocacy piece, which I define as representing my views or interests. And then the empathy piece, I define that as ensuring that I'm considering the perspective of others. So those are the three that I feel like have been tested for me over the last couple of months. And so what I did and what I've been doing is I've been leaning on what my dad taught me at a young age. And he always said this. He said, you answer to you. Therefore, before you lay your head on the pillow at the end of the day, take a good hard look in the mirror and ask yourself, how did I do today? Yeah. But when you're going through your response, make sure you're being honest with yourself. So again, that kind of goes back to, okay, have I been being honest with myself in regards to these things that have been coming up that I feel have been again, testing some of my core values. And so as I've been working through the like, what is going on here? Turning the finger in, right, before I'm turning it out, because it always has to start with us. I came to the realization that the middle child mediator in me, that's who's been showing up. So in other words, even though I am at my absolute best self when I'm honest or acting with integrity, I haven't been doing that. I've been focused on keeping the peace. Right. And so what happens then is that then shows up in other areas, right? It shows up in the personal advocacy piece. Okay. I mean, that's technically integrity plays into my advocacy piece. I'm not representing my full view. Right. And then that ultimately plays into the empathy piece. Have I shut myself down? Right. Because I'm being the middle child mediator instead of finding and using my words, right? So in the words of Taylor Swift, Christine Passo, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. Yeah. Which, joking aside, right? It's just it's a reminder to something that I heard you say when you were going through your response, is that we never fully arrive. We always have to be in awareness, reflection, and action.
Yes. Yes.
That's how I would answer it.
You know, I have to tell you, it might be a few months, but I can't wait for you to unpack in a few months everything that you talked about today, because it may not bring you where you think it's going to.
Yeah.
And that's what I talked about also, that when you start a change, even though you don't know you're in it, when you get on the other side, you're like, oh, I don't think I was expecting that. Yeah. But that's the evolution. And when you recognize what is important to you, that it serves you in a way that you can put your head on the pillow at night and feel good about everything when you answer honestly. It's very interesting. So this is definitely going to be a follow-up.
Okay. Yeah. Always pushing me, which I appreciate.
All right. So both of us just really shared a lot. Like, I feel like we just came in with a bulldozer and dropped two significant loads of, I don't even know what. So for you, now what? Right. So with what you have learned and what you just talked about, and even though you're still going through this, right? So, but where are you now with what you want to do with what you've learned with that?
Yeah. And I love this question, because I feel like, and it's not just in my line of work, I think it's in everything. I think this is applicable in everything in life, is like, what's the call to action, right? What's the solution? What's the next step, right? All that good stuff. So I love the question. And it's communication, right? Especially as I think about something that just most recently came up yesterday, and how it also is, because I've been really working through the what's being tested here, what's going on here. I'm gearing myself up for really what I believe will be good conversations. It's that noticing and naming. It's that not making it about the other person, but making it about what I was receiving, in order to ensure that we can take this discussion, that again, it has to happen. So to me, it's about communication. It's about ensuring that I'm backstepping to go forward so that we can determine best ways forward. And so again, I have a situation that I'm working through that really just happened within less than 24 hours. And so it's so applicable though to what I had just mentioned, that I'm like, okay, tomorrow's going to be the day.
Wow. All right.
Not tomorrow isn't today, but tomorrow isn't Friday.
Right. Right. Well, and I love that you use the word forward, learning, taking it forward. I love that that's what you're doing with that, instead of sitting in it from what it brought you from the past. So that in itself is such a great lesson.
Thank you. What about yourself?
Well, honestly, I'm bringing all of my awareness to the workplace. For starters, and we've already done this. We've already started, but I plan to take all this knowledge that I've learned over the last few months and incorporate it into the communication training program that you and I are launching in June. So we're still adding some of those fine details, but it's a no-brainer that so much of what I've learned will go into this training that you and I are putting together. And I know you're in agreement, because every time we're like, yes, yes. But I've already adjusted how I listen to people when they speak. And I'm reprocessing how I respond. So I have yet another lesson to practice with my clients to guide them with more compassion and care. And then most of all, it's changed me and how I view myself. So I have a stronger understanding of what held me back for decades And I'm celebrating the type of mindset that encourages endless possibilities. I used to be like, I used to stand so bitterly strong with my convictions. And I've now realized that standing too strong meant I wasn't bending. Right. So like there is that, okay, this is my boundary. But I realized with other things, I was just, like fist tight. So I was restricting myself without realizing it. And I'm in awe of how much I continue to learn about life, pain, and awareness, and how utterly happy I'm becoming as a result. Right. And then just really quick, there was a comment that came in on my post this morning from 𝘭𝘰𝘮𝘬𝘬, where she said, what a way to dig deep and learn more about what's adding value to us and what isn't. And I just love how she said what's adding value to us and what isn't, because that's exactly it. It's what are we choosing to recognize it's adding value that we can take with us forward. Just again, to go back to what you said. It's really, really powerful stuff.
Yeah, that's a great, I appreciate that. And I think, of course, I had something I was going to reflect on and it just popped out of my head. So, so sometimes that happens and we have to just honor it.
Yes. Well, and I want to reference Carlos's comment really quick that he said, and just let you all know that for some reason, if you are commenting and we're not seeing it, that's like a LinkedIn thing. I don't know what that disconnect is, but we always go back after the show and read your comments if they didn't come through. But Carlos said, change is like jumping off a cliff for some people. It is like gliding high above, looking at themselves, experiencing the change. Yeah, it's like an out of body experience. I agree, Carlos.
It literally is, and I think my brain just caught up with where what I wanted to say is, it's one of these things that I do believe comes with experience, which means it comes with age, right? But at the same time, I struggle with that, because you're like, gosh, if only I could have learned that when I was younger.
Yeah.
Right. It's just so, anyway, it's just so interesting. But I think we've said it before. It doesn't matter when the change happens. It's that it happens.
It's never too late for anything.
No.
Anything.
All right, so why don't we start to wind down? The timer trapper keepers,
time bandit, time sheriff. One of these days you're going to get a gift in the mail, but we'll save that as a surprise.
I do hope it's a trapper keeper that makes that really loud noise when you. All right, so thank you everyone so much for joining us. As a reminder, we do go live every other Thursday on LinkedIn and also on YouTube from 12 to 12:30 p.m. Eastern. And as Christine said, we release our brief, again, 15 minutes or less pre-recorded show on the Thursdays in between our lives. And we do that as a teaser to invite your comments into the discussion. So as you can see, we are predictable as the need to get your oil changed every 3,000 miles.
Do it, people.
And maybe it's changed depending on your car. Who knows? But
that's right.
But with that, we invite you to tune in to the pre-recorded episode that will drop on Thursday, May 9th on YouTube. And then, as I had mentioned, that will be a wonderful warm-up for you to have your comments integrated into the live episode that we'll host on Thursday, May 16th.
Yep. Awesome. Great job.
Yeah, it was so good to see you again. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, for your comments. As Christine said, if we weren't able to see something, we'll respond to you on LinkedIn. So thank you for being here and supporting us.
Yes. And thank you if you weren't able to tune in for the live show, but you're watching the recording. Thank you to the 90 plus people that were like, hey, I'm interested in We Built a Bridge. And you know what? We're interested in you. So comment. We want to chat with you. Let's go. Woohoo!
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.